Hello dear viewers, a very warm welcome to our channel. In this video we are going to have a look at the wheel cylinder, the principle of operation of a wheel cylinder, and some of the things that can lead to wheel cylinder failure, and also what can be done in order to prolong the service life of a wheel cylinder. The wheel cylinder is a component that converts hydraulic pressure coming from the master cylinder into a mechanical force that is exerted on the brake shoes. Right here there is a brake shoe, and here we have the leading brake shoe, and here we have the trailing brake shoe. So when hydraulic pressure is exerted from the master cylinder, that hydraulic pressure will push these pistons to go in separate ways, and they will act by forcing the brake shoe against the rotating drum. That way, brake can be applied. So the function of the brake wheel cylinder can simply be regarded as converting hydraulic pressure that is generated by the master cylinder to mechanical force that push the trailing shoe and the leading shoe against the rotating drum. Now, in order to perform this, there are some components that are required. Right here we have the piston. There are two pistons on this particular wheel cylinder. We have a trailing brake shoe piston, and we have a leading brake shoe piston. There are also wheel cylinders with only one piston, but for this particular case, we have one piston for each, so we have two pistons, and those pistons, they have rubber seals. This rubber seal will prevent leakage of the brake fluid to the external, and it will seal, and it will also allow the wheel cylinder piston to slide freely. So there are rubber seals on either side. And also, in order to maintain constant contact between the wheel cylinder and the brake shoe, there is a spring in between. Right here, you can see there is a coil spring that will exert force on the pistons, so that they will always be in contact with the brake shoe. That will prevent rattling of the brake shoe and this component when the vehicle is being driven on an irregular road. It will also make sure that brake is applied immediately by allowing a always constant contact between the piston and the brake shoe. And also there is a dust boot that prevents foreign material such as dirt and debris to get admitted into the wheel cylinder. There is a boot on either side. Here there is a boot, it is not located here. On this side also there is a rubber boot preventing foreign particles from getting into the wheel cylinder. Now when hydraulic pressure is exerted, pistons will travel outward, and when that hydraulic pressure is released, this return spring of the brake shoe will return the brake shoe, and that will return the piston, and that will return the hydraulic fluid back to the master cylinder. And also on the back side, wheel cylinders have a bleeding screw that will be used for removing air from the hydraulic system. So this is the construction and principle of operation of a wheel cylinder. Now let's have a look at some of the things that can cause wheel cylinder failure. One is normal wear and tear. Over time, the internal component of the wheel cylinder, they can wear out due to regular use and service, due to exposure to heat, due to exposure to chemical. These components, especially the seals, they will try to wear out. Now, if the seals wear out, that will be causing brake fluid leakage, and that will be causing a pressure drop in the wheel cylinder when brake is applied. It can reduce the braking performance. The other thing that can cause the wheel cylinder to fail is corrosion. If somehow moisture is admitted, if the vehicle is driven in wet area and moisture is admitted somewhere in here, that can lead to corrosion. Moisture and contaminants present in the brake fluid can also cause corrosion. Those hygroscopic behavior of the brake fluid, it will allow the brake fluid to absorb moisture, and that moisture can somehow cause rust and scale to build up on the inner lining of the wheel cylinder. That can cause corrosion and leading to damage of the cylinder wall, damage of the piston, and damage of the seals as well, leading to leak and restricted movement of the piston. You might have seen high mileage vehicles, wheel cylinders. There is rust and corrosion and scale formed on the inner side of the wall, and that can restrict free travel of the wheel cylinder piston, and that can restrict braking performance. The common cause of failure, however, on most wheel cylinders is seal failure. These rubber seals inside the wheel cylinder can degrade due to exposure to heat, due to exposure to corrosive chemical and contaminants. They become damaged over time. When the seals fail, brake fluid can leak out of the system. It will leak when brake is applied, when pressure is exerted. brake fluid will leak out of the wheel cylinder. This will lead to decreased braking performance, and this can also lead to loss of brake fluid from the entire system. Contaminated brake fluid is another cause of wheel cylinder damage. If some debris and foreign particles are admitted into the brake fluid, that can also cause contamination. Dirt, debris, or moisture trapped inside the brake fluid can cause accelerated wear. It can cause damage to the internal components of the wheel cylinder. It can lead to corrosion and seal failure. If there are abrasive type contaminants, for example, they can wear out the seal, and they can also corrode the cylinder wall and scrub the piston, leading to failure of the wheel cylinder. Overheating is another cause. When brake is applied, when large brake force is applied, there is always heat that is generated, because these brakes, they convert mechanical energy to heat. So if that heat is not well dissipated, that can cause the entire temperature to increase. Excessive heat generated during braking can cause the brake fluid to boil. It can also cause the brake fluid to expand and create air bubbles and air pockets, vapor lock within the wheel cylinder, and that can reduce braking performance. Improper air bleeding from the system can also be a cause for malfunctioning of the wheel cylinder. If somehow air is trapped into here, it has to be bled out. If that is poorly performed, that can lead to reduced brake performance, that can lead to spongy brake and reduced brake performance on the wheel cylinder side. The other thing is a physical damage. If somehow physically there is some damage on the wheel cylinder, if there are cracks and mechanical problems, that can also be a cause for wheel cylinder problem. But remember that mostly only the seals will go bad. Sometimes you can replace the seal. Sometimes you might prefer to replace the entire unit. But the most probable part that will go bad is seal. Due to excessive friction, due to exposure to chemicals, the seals are the ones to go bad. They will become dry, they will crack, they will become brittle, and they will lose their flexibility, and that can lead to wheel cylinder failure as well. Now, there are some things that you can do in order to prolong the service life of your brake wheel cylinder. The main thing that you need to do is regular inspection. Whenever you do regular inspection, make sure to check the seal condition, make sure to see if there is some dirt or some moisture trapped inside the system, and if there is corrosion going on. That has to be done. Periodic inspection of the wheel cylinder of any sign of leakage, wetness, or fluid contamination in this vicinity, accumulated fluid around the wheel cylinder, corrosion or damaged parts, they have to be inspected. So mostly regular inspection can help you pinpoint if there is problem with the wheel cylinder. The other thing, most of the problems are associated with wheel cylinder seal and failure are usually related to contaminated brake fluid. So brake fluid flush, following the manufacturer's recommended interval for flushing the brake fluid, it can also improve the service life of the wheel cylinder. Always replace the brake fluid because before it degrades and before it becomes very corrosive, replacing the brake fluid can be very helpful. Bleeding the brake system properly is also another thing. We have said that if there are air pockets in here, that will reduce the performance of the wheel cylinder. So bleeding the air periodically will be very crucial. Always avoid contaminant of the brake fluid. If the brake fluid is contaminated somehow, those foreign particles that get admitted through the brake fluid can cause damage to the seals and damage to the cylinder wall and damage to the piston as well. So always take precautions to prevent brake fluid contamination. Use the recommended type of brake fluid, especially by the vehicle manufacturers, and avoid mixing different types of fluids that can also lead to degraded or failure of the seal and failure of the wheel cylinder. So avoid mixing different types. Ensure that the brake fluid reservoir cap is tightly closed. That will prevent contamination of the brake fluid. And finally, avoid excessive braking. Excessive braking can lead to overheating of the entire system. Overheating can degrade the oil quality. The lubrication oil quality will be degraded, and overheating can also cause these rubber seals to become very dry and brittle. So at all costs, try to avoid overheating. Minimize excessive heat buildup in the brake system by avoiding prolonged or aggressive braking, especially during heavy loads or downhill descent. Excessive heat can cause the brake fluid to boil, and it can lead to potential damage to the wheel cylinder. So at all costs, try to avoid harsh braking, and by doing so, you can elongate the service life of the wheel cylinder. Timely repair, if there are some things that you are noticing, if there are leakage or wet parts that are visible in the vicinity of the wheel cylinder, take action and repair them immediately. By doing so, you can prolong the service life of the wheel cylinder. So these are some of the things that you can do in order to prolong the service life of the wheel cylinder. Always remember that this brake component is tiny, but the function they are performing is very decisive in order to drive safely. These are very crucial components, so give due attention to their repair, give due attention to their replacement on time, and take care of them. If you take care of the wheel cylinder and the entire brake assembly, your vehicle brake system will also take care of you whenever you are in need. So these are some of the things that we would like to mention in this video. So that is all we have for you in this presentation. If you like this video, please smash the like button. If you are new here, do consider subscribing, turn on notifications so that you will be notified whenever we come up with another video. Until then, stay safe.